Welcome to the Propreneur Podcast, where we help practice owners become better entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Dino Watt.
What is happening?
Well, a lot's been happening. I don't know what's going on in your world, but
You know, I love it. I love it because you've done an amazing job of rolling with it. And I think it's like perfect for like what all of us are experiencing in the world right now. Like you just got to move. You got to, when stuff happens, you get new strategies and you move forward. So
thank you for that. And here's a lesson that I've learned. Probably one of my biggest stresses was, but I said I was doing it on Facebook. Are people going to follow me? And here we have 166 people on here following because it's the information. It's the content that they really want. And so I hope the lesson that people take away from this is, give them the content, give them the thing that they want, and they'll follow you. People are worried right now. Should I go virtual? Are they going to think that I'm being a DIY? Are they going to no, give them still the great quality care that you give them, but give them more opportunities to do so. So thank you for being a part of this. Especially, I'm really, truly honored and humbled that you would get on the show and talk to us about this, because I think people really need to hear your message.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. For me, I always say, just like you're putting this on today, you don't have to do this. But you're taking the time to do this to provide value. So it's always about like value. Then like that's the best way to build relationships. So I do have one problem today is I have slides I'm going to share. So I think you and I both like talking about as much the same. So it's going to be hard to not talk over each other here.
I'm going to mute myself, so it's fine. First of all, let me do this. Let me do a quick introduction of you so that people can get to know why I asked Brian to be on. And truly, look, I mean, Brian, I think I already know you because you pop up a lot on my Facebook feed.
I'm sorry for everybody who has to see that.
Don't be sorry, man. That's called marketing. That's called advertising. That is brilliant. And it's getting your message out. And it works, right? You're here with us all. And I truly am grateful for that. This is Dr. Brian Harris, everybody. Dr. Brian Harris and his innovative ideas around cosmetic dentistry and patient communication will transform the way that you practice dentistry. He is recognized as the virtual dentist for helping doctors use virtual consult technology to attract and treat more complex restorative and smile cases in their practice. He is a 2005 graduate of the University of Pacific School of Dentistry and a practicing dentist in Phoenix, Arizona. I could have just had you walk over and we could have done this together and not have to worry about this. But I love it. He is recognized keynote key opinion leader, having presented to audiences large and small more than 200 times and in 5 different countries. Okay, what we're going to focus on today are the 5 secrets to success when using virtual consults in your practice. And this is what I want people to do right now. I want you to, I know you've been taking notes. I know you've been writing questions, which is great. Remember, post your questions in the Q&A section so I can make sure I see all of them. I don't want to miss them. But I want you to really pay attention to this. I know there are distractions. I know there are things that can be popping up for you on your screen and notifications. This is so important. I wanted to have Brian in this section. We talked to Dr. Alex. We learned his experience in the ortho world specifically, Dr. Brian in the dental world, but it all translates. And this is where I really want you to put a lot of focus into before we go and we move on. So Brian, I'm going to have you take it away and show us what these secrets are, because people need to know this.
Okay, absolutely. No, thank you. And I was humbled when you reached out, and I think what's happened is like 3 weeks ago, me and Alex and Greg, we were just like dental nerds that were trying to like be on the cutting edge of technology, doing virtual consults. And then all of a sudden, like the thing that used to be, the thing that wasn't that common became like the thing everybody's talking about. So I'm going to bring a little different perspective to this conversation, because there's been some amazing comments already. And as I listen to the other guys go, I'm like, I'm going to delete this slide and delete, because I don't need to repeat a lot of the great info they already gave. So the perspective I'm going to bring is from a practicing dentist that's been doing virtual consults the last 3 years of my practice, and all the ins and outs of what I've learned putting it into practice, and what to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do, like all of those things that really make it, what it is. So as we as we move forward on this, I'm not going to go deep into my story. It is a little unique. My dad's a dentist. My brother was 2 years ahead of me in dental school. My younger brother was 2 years behind me. My youngest brother's a lab tech, and then my father-in-law is a dentist too. So it's, you know, it's a big family affair. And I share that part of the story because I grew up with a different perspective of what things could be like. You know, my dad was an instructor back with Pack Live in the early days on the cosmetic side. So before, you know, I even went to dental school, I got to see a different side of dentistry. I got to see this excitement in him as he discovered new things in dentistry. And so from there, I've been practicing with him for 15 years, my brother. But about 3 years ago is when things really shifted. That is when I started offering virtual consults. And I've done over 4,000 now. You know, the statistics of how much it increases case acceptance are just, it's astounding. I'm not going to go into all that right now, but the passion I have now, and the reason I said yes to this is I have a passion for helping other doctors understand and see that this is the new way to practice dentistry. What was cutting edge 3 weeks ago, I think it was Greg that said it, like now it's the new normal, you know, because 3 weeks ago there was like 2 or 3 companies out there doing it, and now there's like 25 because everybody is seeing the value in the space. So what happens is when all the tech companies get into this space, it brings an awareness to all the doctors, to all the patients. So you have to have a platform, and I agree with what they said, to just do something. I'm going to do a quick little background story of, like, before we get into the success of it and the things to say and the secrets to really make it work. I think doctors need to understand the problem. And I think oftentimes we don't see it, and we may see it, but we don't fully see it for what it really is. If you look at the sales cycle in dentistry, because we do sell things, you know, people pay us for our services, it is completely broken. And we do it this way because it's the way we've always done it. This is both on the GP side, on the ortho side, on the perio side, on the surgery side, whatever specialty you're in, if you're watching, most of us will spend thousands of dollars every month. We drive all of those leads, SEO, AdWords, mailers, whatever it is that we're doing to market our practice. Where do we drive those? To a phone call. Okay, so just that alone, you miss out on about 40% of the people that call you. The phones don't get answered because the office is closed. You know, the phones are too busy, so somebody didn't answer. So statistics show 40% of the time the phone doesn't even get answered. And then if it does, the person answering the phone is usually not highly trained in phone sales. They're not trained in knowing how to have conversations and convert people. Sometimes they are, but a lot of times they're just great people that work for us that we trust, that their job is answer the phone, be nice, and try to schedule the patient in. So there you're gonna get fall off too, because sometimes the conversations don't go as well as they should, or the wrong things are said. Then just the idea of somebody actually showing up is another barrier. Cancellations, kids get sick, people get called into work, it snows, coronavirus, whatever it may be, people don't show up for their appointments. If they do show up, then we have to automatically go in, and that whole connection thing, like dentists feel it because it's the awkward, like even if you try to go knee to knee, eye to eye, it's that awkward moment of like, so tell me about yourself, you know, trying to build this relationship with somebody that neither of you know each other. It's a vulnerable space, and now you're going to lean them back and make a list of all the things they need and tell them what their treatment plan is going to be. It's a very difficult process to control. Now we talk options. Now is where it usually starts to get confusing. Then we present treatment, usually a few different printouts, you know, handed over to the patient. Then, you know, the one reason that most people really came to see you is to figure out, like, who do I trust? What am I going to do? And what do things cost? So by the time we actually get to the one thing they really want to know most, we're like way down the sales cycle where people have already fallen out of that. And the number one reason people don't move forward with treatment is because they need to go talk to their spouse. And so this is what we put people through. And if you think about that, you know, this conversation here, to expect the patient to now go home and explain why it's not just a normal ortho case, and why the guy down the street's $4,500 or $5,000, but this case includes TADS and reducing gummy smile, and why this is a $6,000 or $7,000 case. Patient has a hard time doing that. So not only are we like 7 to 10 steps in the process, it's very inefficient. That is why most dental offices are about 30% treatment acceptance on high dollar cases. And this is different in ortho, right? But on the dental side, cosmetic dentists, any elective procedures, about 30% case acceptance. On the needed dentistry, it's about 60%. So it's easy to find these people. Like now you're aware how inefficient it is. And I think most of us would look at this and say, okay, that's not very efficient. The cool thing is you can go and find these people. It's your unscheduled treatment list in your practice management software. Just recognize you put them through a bad cycle and go back and try to recapture some of them virtually. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Comment here real fast. So this is interesting because just opened my eyes to something. I often go into an office and I'll ask the treatment coordinator, okay, what's your closing ratio? And they'll give me the name or the number, right, that they have. And I always don't think it's correct anyway, because I look at sales differently. I think that sales is a matter of when somebody walks in my office, did I close them that day? That's the measure of your salesperson, right? But what this just pointed out to me, and I don't know if this was the point that you were doing, but it totally screams to me. That 30% conversion ratio, if somebody tells me they have a 60 or 70% conversion ratio, that's after they've lost, what, 70% of potential clients. That's after they've lost, like they're not calculating in the people that they lost from the lead to the phone to the show up, that right there, right? So if that's 30% of people you've lost right there. And then that's fascinating right there when you really think about it.
Well, and if you want to even get crazier, you go a step before that. It's how many, the statistics show 4%, 6% conversion rate on websites. So it's 6% of the people visiting your websites that don't take action. So yeah, I mean, we could have a 3-hour conversation just on that alone. And let's say, I mean, most dentists, we think we do better than we do. Usually we think we have like 100% close rate because we walk out of the room and we like throw our gloves, like closed it, and then
nailed it.
Yeah, and then you go ask your treatment coordinator an hour later and they're like, oh, they need to talk to their spouse. And then you just think they don't do a good job at closing the case, where it's not, I mean, it's a vulnerable sales position. Most people will nod their head and then they ask the hard questions to the treatment coordinator. So yeah, that is my invitation. Thank you for pointing that out, because it's totally true. I think we need to stop doing that. And I think now we have the solution, and we've talked about it all morning, is find a more effective way, because we have this addiction to new patients where sometimes we measure our success based on how many new patients we get a month. And if we have a bad month, we're like, well, how many new patients were there? Like, oh, that's why, because we didn't have that many new patients. That's not the issue. It's the process. It's the process we put people through is not efficient. Okay. And so that's my major invitation, is change it. Change the process. Now there's a different process, especially now you have this gift of time. Now, this is really stressful what everybody's going through, but what a gift to be able to sit down and say, okay, all these things I wanted to change, now I can do it. And when I go back to work, if I want to have a totally different business model, different schedule, different practice, it's almost like you've been given permission to do that without judgment on anyone, because everybody knows it's craziness. So this is what I call the new sales cycle. It's a much more efficient way. Take all those leads, capture them however you wish, funnel them into a virtual consult, because now, before they've even stepped foot in your office, you have name, address, phone number, pictures of what they look like, close-up pictures of their smile, and their emotional pain point. There's nothing else in dentistry that allows you to gather all that information before somebody's come into the practice. Now you can market to them. If they end up not showing up, it's gold when it comes to the marketing side of what we do. And that's what gets you almost 90% case acceptance. And I'm talking 6, 8, 20, 30, $40,000 cases, not the normal stuff, the more elective stuff. And
I'm not going to interrupt you. I'm just going to hold up the sign whenever I agree, because it's just, come on, people. Like, this is so awesome. Love it. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, that was funny. Maybe that. Okay. So let's move on from that. Well, let me go back quickly. The reason that I'm going to go back to the slide, because this is important. What makes this so different is by the time people are here, you know they're sold, you know they're bought in because they know your fees, they know who you are, they've had a connection with you. The fact that they actually showed up to the practice, like, you know what it feels like to walk in when you know that you're seeing a patient that was referred by one of your VIP patients. You walk into the room with a different level of confidence because you're like, oh, they were referred by so-and-so. It's like there's already this built-in trust. Imagine what it feels like walking in knowing that who you're going to talk to already knows your fees and has agreed to it before you've even really had a face-to-face with them. It's just, it's a totally different way to practice dentistry, but it's like you have to see things differently. You have to take everything you know about dentistry and like erase it and say, okay, maybe this is what it should be like and what it could be like. So now let's get into virtual consults. So the reason I start with that is the rest of this conversation has no importance, in my opinion, if you don't recognize that the system's broken.
Yeah.
If you know it's broken, now it's like, okay, now everybody on here, when we finish this, should be doing virtual consults in some form or another. I'm going to talk about ways to do it for free. I'm going to talk about there's about 20 platforms out there that you can use to do it. I'm going to talk about the small virtual model, which is very different, but everybody should be doing something. The issue right now is it's all hype. Right now it's teledentistry virtual consults. People think that the success is in the thing. They think the success is in the recording of the thing. That's not where the success is. The success is in all the systems around that to make it work. And that's what I've learned after recording 4,000 of these. Is like, okay, there are things to say at the right time. There's ways to set up your presentation. There's ways to do it so that people buy in and people trust you. Quickly, there's synchronous virtual consults. That is Zoom, that is Skype, that is FaceTime. That is a very inefficient way to do it, in my opinion, because like just what you experienced today, like you get on and technology doesn't work, and then it doesn't, you have to expect your patient to understand technology like you do, like your team does. There's so many things that can go wrong in that process. And in real life dentistry, now you're not leveraging your time. Now, instead of doing a consult in a chair, now you're just doing it on a computer, but there's no saving of time there. The second model is what's called asynchronous. And that's what Greg talked about with SmileSnap. So that is like, patient has a concern, they recognize like, oh, I can reach out to this doctor and they'll answer my questions. They submit a photo, they ask questions, and then treatment coordinator reaches back out, tells them what's possible. That's great because now you're breaking down those barriers and you're at least telling people what they want to know. We have this thing in dentistry, somewhere along the way, somebody taught us that never quote fees over the phone. Okay, so none of us do. It's the one thing that everybody wants to know, and it's the one thing that nobody does. When you start to do that and you start to create transparency, it builds trust, like on a totally different level. Now, I do agree. The reason you don't just say your fee over the phone is because now you are talking, now it's just a commodity. Okay, and the only way to compete as a commodity is on price. You either lower your price to get more people, where, the other way to compete is on value, so you increase the value. But when you're on a phone call, and you can't build a relationship, it's just price of a crown, price of a crown, price of Invisalign, price of Invisalign. There's no, patient can't see where the value difference is. So we tell them to come in and see us. So now they got to take time off work, get a babysitter, drive across town, all those things in the cycle. They've got to show up and they got to go through an hour with us just to find out what things cost. And so just opening up those communication lines of communication and being transparent with people is huge. So asynchronous is great because you share the information back and forth. It's more of an exchange of logical information is the best way to put it. Even like in a video, having the ability to like talk to a patient in a video. The biggest difference is Smile Virtual, and this is not just me speaking now. We've got about 350 doctors on the platform now. And so we get to see the statistics of what works, what doesn't work. And the difference of our model is that it is more of an emotional treatment journey. It's not just logical exchange of information. It's a journey that we take people on. So as humans, one of the things that makes us different, having this amygdala, this part of our brain that allows us to make our decisions based on emotion. That's what makes us different than most other mammals. I mean, this is science, guys. We make our decisions in life based on emotion. Then we justify it with logic. Okay. That is how the mind works. Yet oftentimes we talk to our patients based on purely logic. We're giving them numbers, logical information, when we should be giving them emotional information. So this is, quickly, the Smile Virtual software. Yeah, this is the thing. This is the recording mechanism, but it's all the stuff on the front end of like, okay, now that you can record, how do you grow your social media? How do you get more leads? Like, how do you change up your website, and what do you say on there? What do you do to really drive the leads? How do you train your team to manage those phone calls? It's all the training side on like the attraction piece, but then it's also, the widget on the website, the having things embedded, having things customized, and it's all the training afterwards, the team training, the online modules, basically how to become a virtual dentist or a virtual practice, which is it's a different flow. And I have the benefit of being able to teach that because I do it. And so it's a little different than just having a software company. So the cool thing is it's quick, it's easy, it's super convenient for the patient. We purposefully keep it really simple. 2 photos, okay? And I know the orthodontists are sweating right now. Bear with me, I'll get to it, okay? 2 photos, name, address, phone number, and what you want to improve, or what it is that's bothering you the most. This could be both for cosmetic. It could also be for emergencies. It could be for anything where there's unknowns or people are looking for answers. But the software, even though it's called Smile Virtual, once it's in the doctor's hands, it's all branded with their logos. Okay, so each doctor has their own software platform. As you're interacting with patients, it looks like it's your own software. So it's kind of nice having that, because then it doesn't look like a third-party process going back and forth. But the reason we do 2 photos is this. This is not diagnosis. This is not treatment planning. Okay, this is getting in front of somebody. You can't really diagnose anyway and treatment plan until you see them in the office, check measurements, get x-rays, check all that stuff. So this is just getting in front of people instead of waiting around for patients to come to you and be like, yes, okay, got another new patient today. Like, you create opportunities to get in front of people, okay? So that is why we do 2 photos. It's a lower barrier of entry, meaning all they have to do is really simple. All I want to know is who's out there needing a dentist. Once I have them and I have the information, now I can go and communicate more with them. On the doctor side, it's really nice because the doctor just goes on the back end, goes through their dashboard, clicks on the patient profile, can look at the case and say, okay, I've got some ideas of what I want to do. And then this is the part that makes it very different from other platforms. Now they go to select cases and they choose different cases already preloaded in their platform, things to say, quotes, sayings, photos, whatever it is they want to choose. They go through and choose those, type in treatment recommendations, and then type in the cost, and then hit send. And at that point, and then the camera counts down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They start to record. Okay, so the recording sounds something like this. Remember, this is not just sending information. This is like Kendall, like, thank you for reaching out. I know this is kind of a weird way to do a consult, but I just want you to know I can help you. And I've been looking at your teeth, and I'm looking at the smile, and I've got some really cool ideas for you that I want to share with you. But just know, like, my whole intention is just to be here to give you 10 minutes of my time. And if it makes sense to work with me moving forward, I'd love to work with you. But this is what I see. And then it's scrolling through images. Then you're going through your presentation. So it's a way to control the sales process. Meaning, you mess up and you say the wrong thing. I stick my foot in my mouth all the time. Now you're like, okay, delete. Now let's do this again. So you're controlling the process. So you're saying things at the right time. And the cool thing is, it's not just the patient seeing it now. Now it's the spouse watching it with them. It's the aunt, it's the uncle. They're sharing it with us.
Right.
So it's not now it's not just, and I need doctors to understand, this is the biggest thing about virtual dentistry. Dino, if you were reaching out to me, and if I'd sent you a virtual consult, even if you didn't move forward, it's one person out there that now you've connected with emotionally, that probably has trust in you because you did this thing for them for free.
That's right.
We'll talk about this in a minute, why we don't charge. But now it's one more person out there that's an advocate for you. I've had people I have one patient that sent me like 6 referrals for smile cases. I've never seen her, but I recorded
Wow.
a consult for her once, and she's a chiropractor here in the East Valley in Arizona, and she will move forward. She's just not in a position to do it right now. And so it's you being able to connect with somebody, but then let's say you share with 2 or 3 people. Now it's 4 or 5 people out there that know who you are, what you do, and what their options are if they ever want to move forward. Last thing built into the software, it's, the call to actions are built in. Ready to schedule? Great. Links up to the practice management software. Have additional questions? Great. That goes right to the treatment coordinator. And underneath that, interested in financing? Great. The next, right within the next month, full payment calculator that goes over all the pricing options and buttons right there to apply for financing. So you're taking the whole old sales process. This is the thing. Remember, this is the virtual consult. This is the teledentistry we're talking about. But it's teaching doctors how to connect. It's teaching them how to attract those leads. Then it's teaching them like what to say here, things to get people to understand what they really need. So not only do you increase the number of conversions in the chair, but you can also, in a time like this, continue to charge for emergency procedures and virtual consults and still be able to connect with people. So I was doing a little presentation yesterday, and one of the questions was, well, why don't you charge for this? And I said, or do you charge for this? The response is, it depends. If it's somebody who is swelling and pain and they need an antibiotic and they need some Tylenol 3 and to tide them over till they can come see you, yeah, I'm going to connect virtually and I'm going to charge them for it, because that's like a real service for somebody. If it's somebody who's interested in all-on-4 or full ortho or, a full smile makeover, no, I'm not going to step over $100 to pick up a dime. I'm going to give them my time and just let them know, like, I'm here for you when you're ready.
I love it.
Okay. So secrets, ready? Am I good on time?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Secret number 1, however you do virtual consults, you have to create an experience. You have to understand that it is not about information. It is, they want to know what it costs. They want to know what to do, but you're forgetting the first part is they want to know who to trust.
Yep.
So you have to create an experience, take them on that journey. And there's ways to do it and streamline that for you. You don't have to be really good at that. You just need to be good at following instructions. Okay. So we used to, it's actually been with a few different consultants we've worked with where they would teach us in the chair how to say certain things to convince people to move forward with treatment, and how to say, like, I need to talk to my spouse. One of them taught us to say, well, tell me this. Do you think your spouse loves you? Okay. Do you think this is something that they would want for you in your life? And I was sitting there and I'm like, no.
Wow.
And that's not how it works, and the more I do this, the more I realize
I think your spouse loves you.
It's not about tactics. It's not about strategy. It's about just like serving people at the highest level, knowing that they may not move forward with treatment, and that's okay. It's about value.
The worry I have is, what if the answer was no? What are you too thin? Like you become the counselor?
No, it gets awkward really fast. The Go-Giver. If you guys haven't read the book, The Go-Giver,
Yep.
get it. Fantastic book. Speaks to the same concept. And it's also, just a side note, it's such an inexpensive book. Go on Amazon, buy one for every one of your team members, have them read it.
Yep.
I initially was scared because I thought, oh, this is going to talk about just giving away dentistry. No, it's not that at all. It's a way for you to serve people without devaluing what it is that you do. Okay? Social proof. Nowadays, you have to be on social media. I used to say, if you don't feel comfortable, then don't. Nowadays, you have to. Websites, Google search the term websites are dead. You'll find various different articles. When I first got into practice, it was all about how big should we do our Yellow Pages ad? And we struggled with, like, do we do the full page? Do we do the half page? And then websites came out. And now in the last few years, what's happened is initially social media, it was corny. It was flashing memes. It was like things to post pictures of your team. Then it switched about 3 years ago to social proof. Social media, I don't believe in, but social proof is different. That's, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I do really well. Here's like who I am personally. And here's all the people that I've worked with. And that is what gets people bought in. It's like a highlight reel of you as a professional. And so I put this quote on here. The reason I even got into it is I used to do about 1 smile case a week. And I thought that was great. One day I did 2 same day. And I was telling my wife about it. And I'm like, man, if I could just go to work every day and just do that, that would be amazing. This is January 2017. And she said, I remember she said, well, then why don't you just do it? And I didn't say it out loud, but I remember thinking, like, she obviously has no idea like how the business of dentistry works, because you can't just do the only thing you love. Like, there's just not enough people to go around. And she's like, Brian, I think the problem is that everybody knows you're a dentist, but nobody knows what you do. She said, like, people in the neighborhood, people we go to church with, people we went to high school with, yeah, they may know that you went to dental school, you're a dentist, but if they haven't been in your practice, they haven't seen like really what you do, they don't know what you do. She said, just start putting stuff on social media. And it was super uncomfortable at first, but then that's when things changed. You know, and it was about February, no, it was January 17th, you know, 2 weeks into it is when I recorded my first virtual consult. Okay, so,
Wow.
so do the best job you can to build your brand on social media, a personal brand. Now, the question usually is, do we do this as a practice, or do I do it as a person, you know, as myself personally? The answer is both, but it's way more important if you're going to choose one, do it as yourself. Do it as Dr. Brian Harris. You know, do it as Dina Watt, because people now more than ever, people buy from people.
Yep.
People don't buy from companies anymore. Even now, every Uber Eats, Postmates, I mean, you're essentially riding in somebody else's car. You're having somebody else bring you your food because you're too lazy. It's like even though it's a company, it's people capital. You're doing business with people. So people want to do business with somebody else, not necessarily a business nowadays. Okay, less is more. Remember, this is not treatment planning. This is not, I'm going to go back to it. This is for the orthodontist. Yes, you need 5-7 photos to really know what's happening. And if you want to go back and ask for more of those, then do that. Yes, you know, we're in the process now because we're getting to the ortho space, and more orthodontists are like, hey, you need to have this. We're having the option where they can upload more, but I don't want you to get stuck on that. You don't need all those. All you really need is to know who is looking for help, to know who is self-conscious of their smile, who's stuck in life and wants to have a better smile. That's why the more you can capture that information, the better. Once you get in front of them, talk to them like a human. You know, don't talk to them in dental terms. Just tell them that you're there, that you can help them, and you'd love to meet them in person. And then keep it short, 5 to 7 minutes. One of my mentors once told me, Brian, you can't want the sale more than the patient does. Like, don't want the sale more than they do. No, they need to want that sale. And I think it's an important way to look at it. Like, if you're convincing somebody to buy, that's not a good path to go down. You want to be able to provide so much value that they want more from you and they come in and see you. Create a buzz. What this means is put a sign in your waiting room. Send an email out to all of your patients saying, hey, you know, you haven't had the opportunity to go through our virtual consult process because you've been a new patient in the past. We just want you to know like how cool this is. Check out the video below. This is how it works.
That's cool.
If you have spouse, if you have kids at home that are getting ready for braces, if you just want to go through this process and just get some quick answers before you bring them all the way down here, upload a photo, let us know what you're thinking. We'll give you some advice. You already have the following, you know, take those people you have and bring them up that ascension ladder, that sales ascension. They're already there. They trust you. Other than that, press releases. Okay, we've got custom press releases that you can use really easily. Social media content is huge. And make it front and center on your website.
Well, it's like you were talking about with the chiropractor. That's what you did, is you created the buzz, even though she didn't turn into a patient now, and it's a no for now, whatever. She's sent other patients to you because of the buzz around this. Hey, do you hear about this cool thing this Dr. Brian Harris is doing? Like, that's amazing. I love it.
Well, yeah, Dino, because what happens is, so there's things in culture, like if you were to ask patients about dental procedures, I think there's a lot of unknowns around the cost. There's a lot of, it is expensive, and there's a lot of like unknowns. People, you know, people come in and they're like, oh, I thought a crown was only $500, but
Right.
Or I thought my insurance was going to cover all this. So there's the general public knows that there's a lot of unknowns around what it is that we do. So when you bring transparency to that, it's like something that people want to share. Oh yeah, check this out. You know, you don't even have to do that. You can just ask your dentist, they'll give you answers. And so the last thing I want to get to, and I think it's important because we have both general and specialists on here, involve your specialist. Okay, this is huge. So imagine what it would be like instead of being in your chair and having a hygiene patient and knowing that they need ortho and being like, oh, you need to go see Dr. Frost. I'm going to fill out this form for you and go in and see him. The disconnect there, the barriers that you just put up, the gaps of where people fall out of that cycle are massive. You know what? We're going to take a few pictures real quick. We're just going to upload these for you. And you don't even have to go in right now. Dr. Frost will reach back out to you. He'll be able to share with you what your options are. He'll even actually go over the cost if you'd like to know that. Then you can decide when you're ready to move forward. You know, you think your specialist would love that? Geez, like now they can sit down in 5 minutes, just connect, make impressions, just build that relationship, take people through that client journey. Now it's not braces and braces. Now it's value over here. I didn't even have to go in. They were transparent, you know, all these things. Now it's, you could even charge 1,000 more for braces here than here, and people will spend it because the perceived value of what they're going to buy. Yeah. So specialists love it. So I'll walk you through just a quick example of this, and then I'll wrap things up because I know we probably have some questions at least.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
This is a patient that reached out to me basically to summarize, hey, I've never really loved my smile. I'm not sure if I should get veneers or not. Let me know like what you think. And so I say, why don't you respond back, send me a photo of your smile, then I'll be able to tell. Well, immediately looking at it, I'm like, this woman does not need veneers. Like, she's got an amazing smile, but what she hates is the gumminess of it. And so I respond back immediately and I'm like, I have some options, but do not do veneers. There's no reason to do that. I was just getting on a plane. I said, hey, hang tight, I'll get back to you with some options the next day or two. And she said, okay, thanks. I have my Invisalign appointment today. They did the scan and everything. Should I wait on that too or move forward? So then what I do from there, I go and record. And this is like the very, very earliest version of the platform. This is almost 3 years ago. And I record and I say, Cassie, listen, don't get veneers. Here's why. When you have a gummy smile and it's beautiful, then what you really need to do is just decrease that gumminess. But we don't do that with veneers. Like, I want you to go see Dr. Frost. Like, he's the best at this. And it's not just because, you know, he's an orthodontist. Like, he's an orthodontist that does a lot of this stuff. Like, check out the results that he gets. And this is all done with braces. Okay, so yeah, you can come to me and we can put a bunch of veneers on the teeth and grind down healthy tooth structure and not really give you what you want. Go see him. It's a fraction of the cost. Okay, check out the stuff that he's doing. Then it's like, here's his office, here's his location. When you're ready. So this is her response back. I like the way those look. This is the best part. My problem is I finally convinced Nathan to let me get Invisalign. He doesn't think I need it because our orthodontist was running a special this month and it's only $3,200. Do you think that I should plan on Dr. Frost being a lot more than that? Yeah, in my head, I'm like, yeah, it's TADS and it's intruding teeth. I mean, it's at least $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 case. And then the very next message she sends me is, boom, she's got braces on. Okay.
Wow.
I've never seen her in my office. I've never had an actual face-to-face conversation with her. I've referred her to a specialist who's now like put her through this process. And she says, I did it. I'm like, holy smokes, you don't mess around. I'm like, you're going to curse my name in the next month or so, but get through it. It'll be worth it. So check this out. Wow. I've been here meeting with Stuart Frost this morning. He's here with me and I'm going to give him, I'm going to give him a second to explain this case because I wasn't a part of it. I never saw the patient, but I'll have him walk through it. But I also think it's good. I want him to share his perspective as a specialist of like what it has been like to work together like this and to get referrals and what it's done for his business. And I'll share the flip side as a dentist, you know, the amount of cases that he sent me, you know, from patients has been huge. So I'll let him chime in.
Hey guys.
Holy bonus section.
Hey, I love what Brian's saying here. And you know what the coolest part about this case is that when she walked through the door, it really didn't matter what I was going to say. She was already sold. And the first thing she did say is, can we do Invisalign? Which I promptly said, hey, this isn't an Invisalign case. And this was done a few years ago. But it didn't matter what I charged because Brian had already created the value. He already had the emotional connection. She already had trust in what he said. In fact, she was calling him. And I love this about Brian. She kept saying, Brian said this. He recommended this. And all I had to do is say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And I showed her a couple of cases and she put braces on right then and there. There wasn't any need to ask her husband. She had the value and we did it. So we had braces on. I got a little email, a little heads up from Brian saying, hey, she's coming in. I've already talked to her. I've already explained to her the process. And how cool was that? So we put braces on her. This is her results. This was using TADS and impacting her smile. And now with this is beautiful and this is amazing results. And so I sent over to Brian. I said, hey, you're not going to believe this. This is a beautiful case. And the first thing that Cassidy said when she got her braces off is she goes, I can't wait to send a picture of this to Brian, because she was so connected to Brian. So she's got this beautiful end result. And I think it took us like 17 months of treatment or something like that to create this beautiful smile. But what do you think that did for him and for me? All of a sudden we're the authority in the area of not just virtual smiles, but creating these unbelievable smiles. And now he's branded himself to me and what I'm doing, and I'm branding myself back to what he's doing. Pretty spectacular. You got to see what she said to Ryan after that.
Oh, yeah, I put it on here. I realized that I hadn't showed him. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stu. Thanks. That was a bonus. Jeez. I showed him this morning because I hadn't shown him this. So that same time she sent, this is a message. Got my braces off. Thought I'd let you know since you convinced me to get them. Thanks again for the referral. It's amazing. I'm super happy with the results. And then, you know, it's interesting because somebody that my wife knew that I didn't really have a relationship with reaches out because of social media. I connect to her, Stu. She goes through this whole process. And the same epiphany that I had on the cosmetic side. So think about the number of patients. So you think about the number of patients that want to improve their smile. Then you think about the number of patients that have the funds to improve their smile. Then you think about the number of patients that know who to see. My world is very small, right? It's a small niche because you're going after a very small percent of the population. When you think about on the ortho side, how much confusion is there around orthodontics? Parents don't know who to see. I know because they ask me all the time. But they don't know who to see. They don't know what things cost. They don't know, can you do it monthly payments? And so on the ortho side, there's such a massive need for it. And after going back and forth with Stu, like in all these years, you know, it was about a month ago that I said, Stu, we got to launch Smile Virtual Ortho because the ortho world like needs this. So we actually went live last week and he's got 30 consults in 1 week so far, just from the platform alone. And so, you know, we're in the early stages of that. We're looking for 5 orthodontists right now to beta test it. So if you're an orthodontist watching, if anything that you've seen in that process, like spoke to you or resonated,
that's amazing.
Is we're looking for docs that, and we need to be able to prove it in other markets too. So last 2 slides. This is the thing I want everybody to really understand of all of this. Now more than ever, we're in competition for people's time. You know, time is more valuable than money. Not essentially, or not even necessarily right now, but can you imagine 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks, how many people are going to have the time off to take time off work and go somewhere after being out of work for 2 months? They're not going to.
Brilliant point.
And so now it's all going to be, you think it's going to be like flip the switch and it's back to the way it used to be? No way. Like it's not going to be like that. I don't believe it's going to be like that. There will be a new normal. I still do believe that everybody on this call will still be able to thrive in that environment. Why do I say that? Because you're on this call, because you know Dino, because you're already like, you have a mindset that's already in a different place. And so you get it already. I don't need to over explain this, but it will be different. And so I think we have this opportunity as a profession to say, okay, like you can weather the storm and just wait for it to go by, or like you charge into it, get out the other side as quickly as possible and have a massive advantage over your competition. So I echo what Greg said. do it however you do it. Whatever platform you use, be a virtual dentist, be a virtual orthodontist. What I mean by that is like, be that, call yourself that, brand yourself that, because that is the future of our profession. I truly believe that. And so whatever that looks like to you, do that. Now for us, I don't want to go into any sort of like sales presentation on here. For docs that want to know more about Smile Virtual, if you just go to smilevirtualdentist.com, it's all laid out in Smile Virtual fashion, total transparency, the cost breakdown, everything's right there. Because at the end of it, so after listening to this, if some people enjoyed it or felt something, really what people are thinking is, I wonder how much it costs, you know?
Yeah.
And so if I were to say, if you want to know, let me know, we'll schedule a call next week, we'll get on an hour-long call and walk you through it. That's what we do in dentistry. And so the ability to say like, no, go here, we'll create transparency. That's the new normal. That is the new way of doing business with people. So with that being said, I'll stop talking.
No, listen, I mean, I loved everything you had to say. There's a reason I created an amen, you know, a little thing card here, because geez Louise, like some of this stuff, I actually wrote notes. I know other people must have written notes too. They better have, because I got so much stuff out of this. First of all, I'm not even go backwards there. Look, the fact of the matter is that if we have 173 people watching this right now, if every single one of them is not going up to Smile Virtual Dentist right now, just to get information, to know how this can help transition into this new future that we're going to have, the after, then you're missing out. And you're going to be you're going to be a Blockbuster. I'll just say it. You're going to be a Blockbuster. If all the stuff from this morning to now, you're not seeing how, you know, Blockbuster was given the opportunity to buy Netflix for $50 million, and they laughed at Netflix. And they said, no, our people like getting their movies this way. They literally said, they like, we know our customers like to go to a store and they might run into their neighbor at the store. That's why they want to go to Blockbuster. Netflix understood that people would rather sit in their underwear and pick a movie from their television. And so now Blockbuster's nowhere. Netflix is worth $50 billion. There's a reason why you need to go up and just understand what the new normal is going to be. You have to get on this wave. But what I love most about this is all it is information. I tell people all the time when they ask me that question, so how much does it cost? Well, listen, let's find out if or how we can work together. And if it's a no, it's absolutely free. Doesn't cost you a thing. So at least find out the information. I want to ask you a couple of questions that I had that I thought were just brilliant. Is that, where can they go to beta test? People are asking that. Where can they go to beta test? Do they go here to find out more about beta testing?
Go to smilevirtualdentist.com. That will allow you, we do live Q&As, we do a live demo, we go through that. It'll answer all the different questions about the software, and there's total transparency. There's one other, so if you go to smilevirtualdentist.com and let's say for whatever reason, it's not a good fit for you. If you go to the website, saveyourdentalpractice.com, it's about 45 minutes to an hour. It's a presentation. This is for dental offices that need to implement some sort of virtual platform. This is for your teams. They can watch it to help them understand why you need to go virtual. And I'll break it down and I share all the different platforms out there. And I share the ways to do it for free. I share other ways to do it for paid. And it does talk a little bit about virtual consults too. So just know, like, there's, I'm doubling down on this idea, and for selfish reasons. The more we all are aware of this idea of virtual consults, the more the public is aware that it's a thing. That rising tide lifts all boats. Yep. Brings more awareness to Smile Snap, brings more awareness to all these other companies out there, and it's good for the profession.
Well, you're doubling down on this is going to allow doctors to 6 times their closing rate. I mean, that's a super amazing focus that people should have right now, what you said at the very beginning. 6 times your closing, 6 times the ability to increase your practice. Who wouldn't want that? People are asking, and maybe you want them to go straight to smilevirtualdentist.com. People are asking for your contact info. Are they able to reach out to you through an email?
Yeah, so smilevirtualdentist.com, that is for all the informational software. Personal questions. Easiest way to get me is on Instagram, just at Dr. Brian Harris. And the reason being is you can send me a direct message. I'll be able to get back to you really easily. Most likely I'll send a voice message back and we'll just have a conversation. But it's a way for me to leverage my time, then I can respond when I have time. You can listen when you have time. Yeah, just at Dr. Brian Harris, or Brian at drbrianharris.com if you want to email me.
Okay, so you had said something here that I have a question about was, there's the place, right, where people get to the chair, and you're already helping them get to the chair. You're cutting down that minutia into a streamlined process. The challenge that I see is that people are going to very quickly understand where the process from the chair or walking into the building to saying yes is broken, because there's a lot of people who don't know how to sell the service that you're giving. They're not trained in sales. They don't read books around sales. They don't practice sales. So they're going to find out very quickly that that's actually a broken piece too. How do you help them get from the chair to the yes?
I have kind of a different way of thinking about it, and it's not very conventional way of looking at it, but what I teach my doctors to do that I help mentors, I think it's one simple phrase at the very beginning of the appointment. And I'm just big on breaking down barriers. I sit in front of all my patients and I do this to every single one. Like, hey, listen, like I'm here, like you took the time to come and see me. You took the time off work. You drove all that out here. My only focus is to try to figure out what it is that you want and find a way to make it happen. So we'll talk about options. We'll talk about money. When it comes time to talk about money, if we start to get outside your budget, just speak up, because like if you leave and don't end up doing something, you know, and then I make a joke about it, I'm like, then we both lose, right? I'm like, so let's just have it be very open. You know, the days of telling and selling in dentistry, in my opinion, are over. When I first started practicing, a consultant once said, hey, some will, some won't, so what? And it was a very dentist-driven model, an authoritative, like, here's what you need. And it was all based on, you know, what was said by the dentist. Now it's flipped. It's a patient-driven model. It's, hey, how can I help you? What is it that you really want? Yeah, now, obviously, there's all these layers then of like, well, yeah, we can't put braces on if you have para disease. We can't do veneers if you have cavities. So then you can get into that, but first figure out what they really want.
I think it's the most important question we can ask ourselves, but definitely ask the patient, what do you want? Because if I know that, then I can figure out if I can deliver that or not, like you just said. A couple of quick questions here. Is this fully HIPAA compliant?
Yeah, it is. So right now it's one of the only fully HIPAA compliant platforms on the market. What that means is everything is recorded in the cloud. Everything is stored in the cloud. Everything's on lockdown, like under, you know, essentially a vault in the sky that allows you to be able to record and have everything protected. So we've got a HIPAA compliance attorney that we have on retainer that about once a month is reviewing and having us make changes. Right now, it's an interesting time though, because the government has really relaxed a lot of those laws for the next 2 months, because they've kind of said, hey, listen, just take care of people. Yeah. But what happened is now there's so many platforms out there that's going to go away. You know, now there's going to be so much happening that's not HIPAA compliant. I think you'll see the laws get really tighter. So the ideas of just putting, you know, a spot on your website to gather the information, emailing things back and forth. I mean, that's how I started. It's just, it's not good. You know, it's not HIPAA compliant to do that. So find a platform that is and go with that.
Love it. I think the last question here is the other website you said was saveyourdentalpractice.com.
Saveyourdentalpractice.com. And I don't put the www out there. Just put saveyourdentalpractice.com and that should take you there.
Awesome. Very cool. Listen, Brian, it's hard for me not to talk on these things. I probably was more like Oprah Winfrey in my previous life because I like to talk to people, but I was captivated the whole time. And that's why I just had to be, okay, I can't just say amen every other word. That's why I had to create the amen sign. But seriously, this is the future. And again, as I said at the very beginning, folks, you don't have to do everything, but do something to move your practice forward. Somebody asked real quickly, oh, Dr. Frost, since you're there, which I was wondering, because I'm like, wow, you have the same couch as Dr. Frost earlier, and I didn't realize you're in his office. Could I possibly get an email for Dr. Frost so I could ask you some ortho treatment details on the gummy smile case? What's your contact information?
Sure. You're welcome to email me at frostortho@gmail.com. Or you can catch me on Instagram at Dr. Stuart Frost.
Awesome. Thank you so much to both of you, Dr. Harris for the presentation, for Dr. Frost for the bonus content there. I didn't get a model waiver from him, so I'll have to get that afterwards, I guess. But he has one on file. It's cool. They ask him all the time. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it. We had a comment here. It's so true. This was an excellent presentation. It gave some very good understanding of why they need to actually take this step forward. Again, whatever you do, just take the step forward. Thank you, Dr. Harris, for being here and for blessing us with this presentation.
No, thank you. It really was an honor. And I hope that all those that are listening share the same feelings that I do, that, the great thing about what we're going through is we're all going through it together. It sucks when your business is failing and you're alone. The cool thing now is like, okay, it's okay. We're all in the same boat together. But I do think there is real opportunity here. In the most troubling times is where some of the biggest opportunity is. So get out there, chase it, find it, stay healthy, and thank you. Thanks again for having me on.
Thanks so much again for listening to the Propreneur Podcast. We really appreciate your support. If you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you do so. Also, if you feel like you might be a good fit for our podcast as a guest or know somebody who you think would be, go ahead and email us at dino@dinowatt.com. Again, thanks for support. We'll see you on the next episode.